Good day, everyone. Before I would start the discussion, first, let me introduce myself. So, I am Rochelle Joyce A. Morgia from English 1B, and in this video, um, the week 4 module in Linguistic 2. So, before we going to one by one enumerate or explain the science six features of language, first we will going to introduce who is Charles Hackett. So now we will going to know who is Charles Hackett. So first the question is the introduce Charles Hackett. So Charles Hackett was an American linguist and anthropologist who born on 1969 and died 2000. Hackett graduated from Yale in 1939. Hackett made significant contribution to structural linguistics as well as he studied the native language. Um, his work focused mainly on detailed linguistic analysis, particularly morphology and phonology, and the concept and the tools that facilitated such as analysis. On the other hand, Hackett was challenged in this belief by Noam Chomsky, who argued that language is biologically based and innate. However, Chomsky believed that humans share a universal grammar that ties all language together. So now we will going to the second question, which is the question was enumerate and explain the 16 features of design 6 features of language. So before that, Hackett asserted that even the most basic human language possess these 16 features are a set of features that characterize human language and set it apart from animal communication. So today we're going to first introduce the first features, which is the vocal auditory channel. It refers to the idea that speaking and hearing is the mode humans use for language. When Hackett first defined these features, it did not take a sign and language into account. In which reflects the ideology of orality that was prevalent during the time. These features has since been modified to include other channels of language, such as tactile visual, or the chemical olfactory. So that second was broadcast transmission and directional reception. Well, it refers when humans speak, sounds are transmitted in all directions. However, listeners perceive the direction from which the sounds are coming. Similarly, signers broadcast to potentially anyone within the line of the sight, while those watching see who is signing. This is characteristic of most form of human and animal communication. So the third is the transitoriness. It also called as rapid fading, in which transitoriness refers to the temporary quality of language, in which language sounds exist for only a brief period of time, after which they are no longer perceived. Sound waves quickly disappear once a speaker stops speaking. This is also true of signs. In contrast, other forms of communication such as writing and not tying. So the fourth one is the interchangeability. It refers to the idea that human can give and receive identical linguistic signal, while Humans are not limited in the types of messages they can say or hear. So the importance of this is that a speaker can physically create and any all messages regardless of their truth or relation to the speaker. In other words, anything that can hear, one can also say. And we have here the total feedback where the speaker of all language can hear their own speech and can control and modify what they are saying as they say it. Similarly, signers see, feel, and control their signing. Also, the specialization. The purpose of linguistic signals is communication, not some other biological function. When humans speak or sign, it is generally intentional. Semanticity. Specific on the sounds, signals are directly tied to a certain meanings. Arbitrariness language, in which are generally made up both arbitrary and iconic symbols. On the other hand, spoken words are really nothing like object they represent. This is further demonstrated by the fact that different language attribute very different names to the same object. Sign language are transmitted visually, and this allows for a certain degree of iconicity. Discreteness. In linguistic, representation can be broken down into a small discrete units which combine with each other in rule-governed ways. They are perceived categorically, not continuously. Displacement. The displacement, it refers to the idea that human can talk about things that are not physically present or that do not even exist. Example of here that speakers can talk about the past and the future and can express hopes and dreams. However, a human speech is not limited to here and now, in which displacement is one of the features that separates human language from other forms of primate communication. Productivity, it refers to the idea that language users can create and understand novel utterance, in which humans are able to produce an unlimited amount of utterances. Also related to productivity is the concept of grammatical patterning, which facilitates the use and comprehension of language. Traditional transmission, also known as cultural transmission, that traditional transmission is that the idea that while humans are born with innate language capabilities, language is learned after birth in social setting. Significantly, that language and culture are woven together in this contract, functioning hand in hand for language acquisition. Duality of patterning. In these features, meaningful messages are made up of distinct and smaller meaningful units in which words and morphemes, which themselves are made of distinct smaller also that in which meaningless units. the phonemes. So, prevarication. The prevarication is the ability to lie or deceive. Examples: when using language, human can make false or meaningless statement. This is an important distinction that made of human communication, or that language is compared to animal communication. While animal communication can display a few other design features as proposed by Hackett, that animal communication is unable to lie or make up something that does not exist or have reference. So the reflexiveness. The human can use language to talk about language. Also, a very defining features of human language that reflexiveness is a trait not shared by animal communication. With reflexiveness, human can describe what language is and talk about the structures of language and discuss the idea of language with other using language. Learnability. The learnability, where language is teachable and learnable. In the same way that as a speaker learns their first language, and the speaker is able to learn other languages. For instance, it is worth nothing that a young learn, that the young children learn. So that's all the 16 design features of Charles Hackett. And now we know that who is Charles Hackett. I'm going to end in this video, and thank you for listening and watching.